To talk a little bit more about these redacted pages along with the latest on the counterterrorism front, earlier I was joined by former Minnesota governor and host of Off the Grid, Jesse Ventura, and I first asked him what he thinks these redacted pages could reveal.
Well, why were they redacted in the first place? You know, that's the question I always ask, the same as the Warren Commission back in the Kennedy era. Why did things have to be locked up for 40 years? If the government story is true, then there should be nothing kept from the public. Now, these redacted pages, according to Congressman Jones, he's read them, and he said they have nothing to do with national security. They absolutely should be released so the public can read, and it's really he hinted it was a money trail, and the money trail led to a place where obviously certain people don't want the public to know that it led there. You know, you kind of chuckle, well, you never chuckle, but when you look at these mysterious things, you go back to Watergate when the infamous Deep Throat and the bowels said, "Follow the money." Well, I've learned in my 63 years and all my involvement with government that following the money is usually a pretty good way to learn answers. And if that's what these 28 redacted pages deal with, we, the public, certainly have a right to know it. Why should anything be kept from us? And let's remember something that's inherently lost in America today. They work for us. We've forgotten that. We're the boss. They're the employees. So, you know, it's time for us to flex our muscle and say enough is enough.
All right. Well, you've been criticized of your views of 9/11 since this happened some 13 years ago. Has your viewpoint changed on what happened that day at all?
Well, why are you criticized? That's the question that really should be asked. I mean, the government only gave a conspiracy theory. That's all they did. Here's the government's conspiracy theory that 19 Islamic radicals armed with box cutters defeated our multi-billion-dollar air defense system, all while conspiring with a bearded guy in a cave in Afghanistan. That's their conspiracy theory. Anything else, I mean, why is that for sure a fact? We don't know that. That's simply what the government offered us as what happened on 9/11. And today there's holes in a lot of that. Some of those 19 people are actually alive. They weren't on the planes. Well, why haven't their names been then redacted if they're indeed alive? And I know a lot about 9/11. Because not only did I go there shortly after it happened with Governor Pataki when I was governor of Minnesota, but I've also done 2 investigative TV shows on it where I've spoken to people that were there and they survived it, and many of them tell a far different story than what the government has told us. Now, whom should I believe? Should I believe what comes out of my government, who I might add lies to me all the time? They lied about weapons of mass destruction. They lied about ties to Al-Qaeda and the Iraq War. They lied about the murder or the rescue of Jessica Lynch. They lied about the murder of Pat Tillman. It goes on and on. Whom should I believe? People who lived through it or the bureaucrats in Washington? I ask you that.
Okay. We heard the president speak last night about his strategy to combat America's newest counterterrorism threat. Of course, that's ISIS. He said no boots on the ground, but certainly a renewed campaign of airstrikes along with a broad coalition that's been built. Did the president lay out a plan you think can defeat ISIS?
I think what needs to be asked is, where did ISIS come from? In my opinion, ISIS is a creation of our invasion of Iraq, a war that I have opposed from day one. We invaded Iraq, we overthrew Saddam Hussein, and lo and behold, now we have ISIS. I think I can say this quite confidently. If Saddam were still in charge over there, there wouldn't be ISIS. So ISIS has come to being because of policies of the United States in the war in Iraq, and now we have to deal with them. I don't think anything is going to work over there because, again, it's a civil war type thing. ISIS is made up of one religious sect. They're battling the other religious sect. Then you have the Kurds up north doing that. And so no matter who you align yourself with, the other religious sect is going to view you as the opponent. It's a war that'll go on forever. I've said this many times. The United States was, for Anglo-Saxon America, was discovered by Christopher Columbus, right? What was he doing? He was trying to find a way not to go to the Middle East, to get to India 600, 700 years ago. And he was willing to fall off the earth to do it. If that's the case, my position is let's get out of there, because there is no win situation over there, and there never has been.
And Governor, he did make one thing clear, that he won't hesitate to go into Syria. Let's take a quick listen to that.
I've made it clear that we will hunt down terrorists who threaten our country wherever they are. That means I will not hesitate to take action against ISIL in Syria as well as Iraq. This is a core principle of my presidency. If you threaten America, you will find no safe haven.
Well, I want to get your reaction to that. And I also want to ask you, hold on one second, because I want to get something else in there, that the Defense Department, of course, has made it clear time and time again that ISIS cannot be dismantled without going into Syria. Many people argue that doing nothing would only make things worse. So in that vein, what do you think should be done?
Well, we forget the fact they're unhappy because we're over there. We're occupying, we're dictating their lives to them. I'm a believer in Major General Smedley Butler, the two-time Congressional Medal of Honor winning Marine, who says we need to pass a constitutional amendment that our military can't go over 500 miles from our shore. We got the capability to blow up the world 100 times over. What do we need bases all over the world for, and why are we involved in this?
But do you think ignoring it could exacerbate the issue in any way? Do you think ignoring the issue could exacerbate it?
Why not let them determine their own destinies over there? Their countries weren't even made for them. If Iraq needs to divide into 3 countries with the Kurds, the Sunnis, and the Shiites, let's let it happen. You know, why is it our job to be the policeman of the world? We're following the road that the Roman Empire went down to a T, and what happened to it? Our involvement in all these wars, think of them. We spend so much money on war now, our own country's falling apart. My belief is you should take care of your own backyard first before you start venturing out into other people's yards.
Okay, all right. Former Minnesota governor and host of Off the Grid, Jesse Ventura, always good to have you on.
Thank you.